In 1942, at the Battle of Midway, American victory relied on the eyesight of a 20-year-old pilot looking through a dirty canopy. Survival depended on luck, cloud cover, and sheer raw bravery. Today, the United States Navy has evolved from burning heavy oil to splitting the atom, arming its sailors with the cold certainty of calculus. Now, fast forward to March 2026. The Strait of Hormuz is completely closed. Over 150 massive oil tankers are trapped, and 20% of the global oil trade stops immediately. Prices cross $100 a barrel as the global economy begins to fracture. Iran enforces this blockade using the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' Mosaic Defense Doctrine. Rather than deploying large, vulnerable warships, they saturate the waterway with thousands of small, highly mobile, fast-attack boats. It is a decentralized strategy designed to swarm and overwhelm high-value targets. Looking at this diagram of the radar horizon, you can see the geometric nightmare every tactical officer faces. Radar energy travels in straight lines, but the Earth is a sphere. A sea-skimming cruise missile remains hidden behind the ocean's curve, giving a destroyer barely 30 seconds to react once it finally clears the horizon. To ensure no conventional ship can get close enough to clear those incoming threats, the strait is laced with pressure-activated naval mines. It is a submerged wall designed to rip the keel out of any steel-hulled vessel that tries to pass. Breaking this chokehold requires a targeted amphibious assault on Iran's major oil export hub, Karg Island. Securing this objective requires hardware engineered to bypass the physical constraints of the Earth and the logistical traps of the minefield. To survive the dead zone, the Navy developed a nervous system called NIFC-CA. Using Engage on Remote, a ship borrows the eye of a distant aircraft, receiving fire control quality data transmitted from hundreds of miles downrange. The F-35B Lightning II acts as the forward sensor. Flying at high altitudes in thin air, it sanitizes the airspace of enemy eyes and surveillance planes before they can even detect the approach of the main carrier strike group. By networking these separate assets, the physical constraint of the Earth's curvature is removed. The horizon is no longer restricted to 30 miles. It extends to wherever the furthest aircraft in the network is currently flying. Using that remote data link, a destroyer can launch a massive SM-6 interceptor missile directly at a threat its own radar cannot physically see. Mathematically separating the sensor from the weapon eliminates the enemy's geographic advantage. The kill web calculates a firing solution before the target even realizes it has been spotted. Phase 2 begins. The amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli arrives off the coast, carrying 2,200 Marines of the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. The IRGC relies on massive numbers and asymmetric guerrilla tactics, but they now face a highly coordinated combined arms assault. The Marines synchronize close air support and Aegis fire from nearby destroyers to paralyze the coastal defenders. The primary tactical objective is the physical seizure of Karg Island. Taking the garrison and neutralizing the coastal missile sites secures a vital foothold and cuts off the economic leverage holding the global oil supply hostage. Marines execute a rapid combat insertion from MV-22 Osprey tilt-rotor aircraft, dropping directly into the island's industrial defense zones to bypass traditional beach fortifications. As the Marines fight to clear the island's industrial zones and missile batteries, they race against their own supplies. The real test of the operation begins on day 5, when fuel brought in the first wave finally runs dry. By the end of the first week, the Marines hold their positions on Karg Island, but they are burning through tens of thousands of pounds of supplies every day, and a conventional supply ship cannot navigate the active minefield surrounding the coastline. To address this problem, the USS Portland anchors outside the dead zone. As an amphibious transport dock, it serves as a sterile floating hospital equipped with 124 beds and 2 operating rooms to handle casualties directly off the coast. But the supply chain is vulnerable to Iranian drone surveillance. Intercepting a cheap $10,000 suicide drone with a $4 million radar-guided missile quickly depletes a ship's magazine and its budget. To counter these swarms, the Navy pivots to systems like Odin and HELIOS, which fire concentrated photons at the speed of light. When an Iranian surveillance drone attempts to locate the supply convoy, the Portland fires a 150-kilowatt solid-state laser. It burns through the drone's optical sensors, blinding the airframe and sending it crashing. Because these systems rely on the ship's own power plant rather than physical munitions, the Portland can defend the convoy for as long as it has fuel. Magazine depth is no longer a constraint. It is a calculation of kilowatt hours. Medical care and drone defense secure the perimeter, but a Marine battalion still needs M1 Abrams tanks and heavy fuel delivered daily across a live minefield that would sink any conventional steel-hulled ship. That heavy lift falls to the USS Comstock. It is a dock landing ship built around a 440-foot internal well deck, essentially a massive floating garage designed to cycle hovercraft. Inside that garage is the LCAC. It is a 60-ton vehicle that rides on a cushion of air, traveling at over 40 knots while carrying heavy armor or fuel bladders. As this diagram illustrates, the vehicle rides entirely on a cushion of air. Because it distributes its weight across that massive surface area, it exerts almost zero point pressure on the water below, allowing it to glide over pressure-activated naval mines without triggering a detonation. With the Portland supporting the people and the Comstock supplying the machines, the landing force becomes a self-supporting unit. They are capable of remaining on the island and controlling the waterway despite the ongoing blockade. Ultimately, the strength of the force depends on its capacity to persist. By integrating hovercraft that ignore minefields with lasers that neutralize drone swarms, the Navy ensures the first shot is never the final shot. It is a victory of logistics and math over geography.